Howdy, folks. Welcome to Grounded, a HomeLand Properties Roundtable Podcast, where we discuss land, timber, real estate, and everything in between.
Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 2 of Grounded. We're here with Andy Flack, our principal broker, Robbi Flack Langley, JC Hearn, and I'm Mikayla Burris. This episode, we're going to move into talking about real estate market trends, some demand in the market, and kind of what we're seeing. So we're happy y'all are here to join us.
Thank you, Mikayla. Appreciate that introduction. So our company, as you know, we cover a large swath of Texas, but mostly concentrated in about 40 counties in East Texas. So we're facing some challenging times here just after the first quarter of 2024, and just want to talk to each one of us, kind of give their feel for how you think the market's going.
Yeah, I think it's interesting the variety of area that we cover, being in over 40 counties. I mean, we have a whole market of East Texas, but really each individual county is kind of their own market in themselves as far as what's moving, what's in demand. I think it differs on kind of where you're at in East Texas.
Yes, I'd agree with that. I mean, I think every area has a little bit of different nuances in demand, but currently, at least for myself, I see continued demand for development properties in larger recreational or legacy properties, and a decrease in smaller recreational. How about you, Robbi?
Yeah, I mean, each micro market within real estate, I mean, we do deal with homes as well, 1 to 5 acres, or kind of that mid-range, like 10, 20, 50 acres, and then even, larger than that. Every single one of those markets has a different demand right now, it feels like. And a lot of the smaller tracts are, I think, struggling a good amount.
You know, and our revolving inventory has been somewhere in the 350 to 400 range for the last 2 years. I think it spiked up May of 2021 to about 500 offerings. But I think because that we maintain such a large inventory of properties spread out through the markets that we deal in, we really give the follower and the listener a good sample of what's going on. Mm-hmm. And so right now what I see is a smaller buyer pool than we've seen in a number of years. And because we have a smaller buyer pool, there's more for those buyers to choose from. And I actually see I think our seller pool increasing. So therefore, history would say we've got a buyer's market, and it continues to turn that direction. So we may see, although prices still don't seem to be affected since 2021, I think we might see some pricing starting to be affected if this market doesn't turn around.
Yeah, I've been getting, I feel like, a lot more calls of sellers wanting to sell their property. Probably, people that are maybe strapped for cash and needing a little bit of money with the way that the market's been going. And that's great. We love to work for sellers, but we have to find those buyers too to, get the property sold.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I would say that there is an increased interest in listing properties in the current market, and really an opportunity for buyers to capture more high quality properties that normally there would be increased competition for in previous markets. They have a good opportunity for those that are positioned where they can afford to take advantage of them, even with the current interest rate environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's good to bring those certain things to light as far as how this market can benefit a buyer. So I think most buyers just look at the interest rates and think that it's not a buyer's market. And so I kind of am interested to hear y'all's thoughts as far as, what other concepts we can discuss with our buyers about to try to get them motivated to find something that they've been looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I think if this market does change, and hopefully it does, then, they're going to be looking at a lot more competition again, more similar to COVID times, 2020, 2021, when you were having 2, 3, 4, maybe even more offers on one property at a time. So it really is, I think, even with the higher interest rate, it's a really good time for buyers to buy if they can, because you've got a number of options out there. And you might get a better price on it as well, because like we said, some of our sellers, might be looking to get something sold a little bit quicker now.
Well, product interest has certainly changed as well. I think most of what I see trading is the investment properties, and the word investment can go a long way or be a very broad topic, because you may have a buyer that's buying, say, 30 to 50 acres that they're going to recreate on, but it's an investment for them. But then you still got your developer type buyers that are wanting to buy bigger tracts and split them into smaller tracts to sell to those recreation buyers that aren't there as much as they were 2 or 3 years ago. And so I think the recreation side of the market has probably suffered the most from the inflation and the interest rate increase. And I think it's going to stay this way the rest of the year until we see some relief in the interest rate markets.
I agree.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that, Andy. And I would mention too, I think for some properties, as you recognize, those legacy type properties that only come up sometimes once in a generation, it can be a great opportunity for those to not be deterred by interest rates, and recognize that those really high quality properties, they only come to market infrequently, and it's good to take advantage of it if you can.
Yeah, I think we're seeing some of those high quality, really unique properties that do only come up every so often, even in our market now, are still selling pretty quickly. One of our agents, I think, just had a property that was listed and had multiple offers on it, and went under contract immediately. And how many acres was it?
663 is
yeah.
sold for over asking price.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's still a lot of cash in the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though the interest rates are high, there's still a lot of people that are using their cash to invest in real estate instead of putting it in some other asset class.
Especially if it's a once in a lifetime or once in a 100-year offering that they need to jump on before it's bought by somebody else.
Yes. And it's an inflationary hedge too, because land prices will index up as inflation takes hold.
Yeah.
And so it can be a good storehouse to put your wealth into.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I mean, in our market, you've been around in real estate much longer than we have, obviously, but putting your money in land, we don't see fluctuations like in the stock market. Land values have always gone up in our area, right?
Yeah, they have. I mean, there's also the factor of natural disasters like we've seen in the last week with all the flooding in East Texas and Southeast Texas. And every time that happens, we'll see people wanting to exit and go buy land somewhere else that is not susceptible to that type of flooding or fire or whatever it may be. So that stock market crash is another example of an event that happens that people decide to put their investment in land instead of in a stock market or some other asset class.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say too, there's technological trends that I think were accelerated by COVID, like Zoom conferencing, high-speed internet. We're starting to see fiber optic internet expansion in the rural areas that are making it more usable for people that are professionals to be able to work remotely, and I think even increasing the migration to rural living in some areas.
Yeah, I think I saw, a ton of that over the last 3 or 4 years. A lot of my clients, when they were looking for property, were working remote. And even just recently, I had some people looking for property in the Livingston area that were remote workers. So that's a huge thing, and I think a really big driver for a lot of our recreational buyers for some part of that, and then people looking for a permanent home in a country setting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think even that period of time really boosted the amount of digital tours and things that we saw online that way as well for our ranch homes and our residential properties, even just in town. I mean, a lot of stuff was done online. They weren't doing as many. You weren't meeting clients ever wanting to look at multiple properties a day and be around you for extended hours at a time, So I think that was a huge boost in that trend that we saw as far as marketing goes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It definitely teaches us we have to pivot with the market and always stay
Absolutely.
relevant with technology. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's something that HomeLand Properties has done well.
Yeah.
Well, I think we do well because we stay on the front line every day. And we're watching the market. We're full-time people, full-time professionals, and keeping an eye on the market like that to help our clients make better decisions. But I do think some of the challenges with the market today, I think we're seeing sellers making some more concessions, maybe not being as picky on contract terms. It's important for sellers to know that when they do get a buyer in hand, you need to treat that serious, because it could be a little while before you get another offer.
Maybe an isolated occurrence.
At the same time, buyers need to be savvy as well. They need to have someone that's professional and knowledgeable working for them, so that when that property comes along that they want, they can make a prudent decision and buy that property, because it's been one of the best times to buy over the last 5 or 6 years.
Yes. And I would say too, just having somebody that's experienced and knowledgeable in those markets, they know how to be creative in structuring the deal to make it attractive to both sides. I know
Correct.
Recently closed some commercial transactions that were a seller financing situation. It wasn't initially offered, but we were able to still make it work even with the interest rate environment. So
Yeah. Well, and it's, you're going the conventional financing route, knowing what lenders you should go with and finding, the best offer for your clients, and, trying to get that best interest rate, because they are definitely high right now. So you want to get the best that you can out there. So.
well, it's good that you have that experience when you're working with those lenders every day. You know which ones are good for what type of properties and which ones have the best rates in each area.
Yeah.
Well, and which ones will work with the buyers too, with not any hidden agendas, because that's important too. Just you got to be careful sometimes what lenders you are enticed by, because sometimes the enticement of a lower rate might sound good, but if you have a lot of fees that are attached to that, it could effectively make your rate a lot higher
Sure.
Yeah.
than it appears on the front end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the benefits of experience, is definitely you learn who does what they say they're going to do and who doesn't. And after you're in this business a while, it's tremendously beneficial to know who to do business with and who to deal with.
Yeah, I think even the difference of lenders who deal a lot with residential properties versus raw acreage. I think that, sometimes there's lenders out there that will approve a buyer on a property that has raw acreage with no, house or improvements on it. And there might be a lower interest rate, but they're going to require a lot of other things that are not standard for recreational track. And so that can bring a lot of complications to the table, not just with the buyer and their lender, but with other costs and the surveys and the title companies and all kinds of stuff. I'm actually dealing with one right now that ran into an issue because they were using a mortgage lender for 10 acres that had no improvements on it. And it turned out to require a lot more than the buyer anticipated.
What are they requiring?
One example being the lender's requiring certain endorsements on the title policy, which comes back, and the title company is requiring a Cat 1A survey in order to cover those shortages in area and ensure the things that they're requesting. So that turned out to be a big issue between the buyer and the seller as far as who is responsible for absorbing that cost.
Yeah.
In the contract, the seller is responsible for the title policy and actually the survey, which the survey was provided, but it was a standard boundary line survey, not a Cat 1A. So we had to go back and renegotiate, and we'll see where it ends up. But
Well, I think it's important for buyers to understand who's going to service the loan 5, 10, 15 years down the road after that loan's been made. And I know a lot of folks that have bought homes and used mortgage companies over the years have gotten frustrated because that loan has been sold 1, 2, 3, 5 times over, and then they're trying to deal with somebody in some other country about their mortgage payment or their payoff or something like that. But in the land business, we don't see that quite as much, but we do see it some. So it's important for our buyer listeners to know that lenders, choose your lender wisely, but also ask who's going to be servicing that loan in 5 to 10 or 20 years. A lot of our farm credit lenders will tell you that they service the loan for the life of the loan, and that's important to know that.
Yeah.
And so as opposed to some of the competition that like I said, puts out a kind of a sweet teaser product, and then it doesn't turn out to
Yeah.
be so sweet after a while.
I think another really neat thing about a lot of the farm credit lenders is you become a stockholder in the farm credit system whenever you get a loan with them. So I think it's $1,000 stock option fee, and it's not really an option, it's required. But you end up getting dividends back each year that end up being about one payment is what they say. So then, you may have one interest rate, but you're getting money back from them each year, which effectively lowers your interest rate that you're getting. So I think that's a really neat
Yes.
feature
I would
that they
say
provide.
certain lenders definitely do a better job of servicing their clients well, and some even offer the option to refinance that property and re-index the rate without even having to totally redo the loan.
Yeah.
And with us working with them every day, we kind of know which ones have a really good track record of servicing the buyers, and I think that's helpful. I would caution land buyers too. A lot of lenders say that they can finance unimproved land, and many times I've seen cases where, even though that's what's promised, that's not always what's delivered. Even some cases, the week before closing, they were unable to meet the underwriting requirements and unable to close the loan for certain clients. So I think, again, there's just a tremendous benefit to working with people that are experienced, so they can help guide you.
Well, that
the resources.
translates also into your title companies, your surveyors, appraisers to some aspect, any type of contractors that are involved in the land buying process.
Mm-hmm.
And so using someone like HomeLand Properties to facilitate a closing and facilitate a sale for you is very important, because we've vetted all those people over so many years
Absolutely.
with the experience, and we've been through every scenario you can imagine. And normally everybody hears about the good ones, but I've been through as many or more bad ones than I have been good
Yeah.
ones.
Sure.
So we know what to look for, and we know how to protect our clients.
And we handle pretty much all of this for our buyers and sellers.
Exactly.
There's very little
Yeah.
that our buyers and sellers really even have to do,
Right.
because we do it all. We're going to order the survey for you. We're going to open title for you. We're going to look through your title commitment whenever you get it. Read through all of Schedule B, which are the items that are exceptions to your title policy, to make sure that there's nothing there that's going to be a big red flag. So, we.
It's a very
It's-
high level of service.
Yeah, and we make sure that you don't have to worry about a whole lot.
Yeah. And with that service, I think that as much as I would love to go out and get you just the lowest interest rate or the lowest piece of property on the market, my job is to work in your best interest, whether that you're a seller or a buyer. And I think with that comes some, leeway here and there as far as what lenders are actually working in your best interest, or what surveyors are actually going to provide you a great survey versus a cheap survey. So there's a lot that plays into that, and it takes a lot of trust, but
Yeah.
I'm thankful that we have the community and teamwork that we do, to where we're able to get that kind of knowledge to handle those difficult decisions that we have to make on behalf of our clients.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all on the back end. We haven't even talked about the front end of getting our properties on the market and making sure that we provide a quality product to the buying public for them to get that quality versus a quantity type product. Quantity meaning the cheapest or whatever, but a product that actually has value added in the process of providing all the information that is included in the solicitation of properties. Even if it's not our property, we can look at other realtors' product and tell you what's missing, or what you need to look for, or what's not being disclosed, or et cetera, et cetera. So that's very important for our buyers, but it's also important for our sellers as to who are you going to use to solicit and market your property. Someone
Yeah.
that provides a quality product? I would think so.
Yeah. Well, in our industry, I mean, I would argue that maps are one of the most important things that you need, when you're listing a property so that buyers can find it. They know the shape of it. They know the boundary lines. Many times, whenever I'm helping a buyer and looking through outside listings, there's no map. So I have to go track down where is this property located. I'm going to make my own map for them and I'm going to send it to them so that they can see where is it located, what's its road frontage, what do the boundary lines look like, okay, where how does it lay out? So yeah, I think that that's a huge thing that we provide for all of our sellers. And so it makes it as easy as possible for a buyer or a buyer's agent to see what are we selling. But when we're on the buyer side, we're filtering through hundreds of listings sometimes to try to find our clients what they're wanting, what they're looking for. And we're having to do almost 2 jobs by then creating a listing side for that same property
Right.
that our buyers can understand.
Yes, I know I've received a number of compliments about the HomeLand website and just the whole process there
Yeah.
of creating location maps, topographical maps, floodplain maps, and providing all that upfront for all of our sellers so that the
Yeah.
properties are represented very well. I also received a number of buyers just because they're saying, hey, your website is the only place I can go and see every property and see it well and know where it's located, and I'm trying to go through these other websites and I can't even get the information I need to make a decision. So I think it's really important that taking those steps and making sure that work is done up front.
Yeah. Well, especially in this market, bringing it kind of back around to where we are in the market, it has been a little bit of a struggle over the last year. Well, we have to make sure that our properties are going to stand out over anybody else's.
Absolutely.
So that, our website's going to look the best. We want to be creative in the way that we're marketing properties, photos, mapping, everything. It comes back to that, just to make sure that we're getting seen. Ours are the easiest to follow. So if somebody, is looking around and they can't figure out what they're looking at, they're just going to forget about that property. They're going to come to ours because they can see what they're buying or what they want to buy.
Yeah, I just closed on a property a few weeks ago, and I was representing the buyer, and at the closing table they told us, they said, we were looking for land and we just knew that we needed to call HomeLand. And that's what I want to hear. I know that that's our goal in this industry is not just working property specific, we want to get this on the market, we want to do this. It's about understanding the industry that we're in so well that we can accomplish any task that we're given. Like, we want to be professionals and specialists, and I know that that's my goal as I continue to move forward in this. And so it felt really good to hear that there's a image of HomeLand out there that people think of us as they know land, and that's what I want.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Wrapping up a little bit of today's topics, we talked about what we do, we talked about trends. As mentioned, I feel like the market has come down in the last 2 years. We've hit bottom, but that doesn't mean it's bad. We're still in a decent market. Things have leveled off, and I think that we're going to be here for the next few months. This is May of 24, and it's an election year. I've been through several of these, and not much changes during an election year. The feds have promised to reduce interest rates, which have yet to happen. I expect that probably later third or fourth quarter, if at all. And then I expect the market to start trending back upwards again at least by the first quarter of 2025. We still have 1,400 people a day moving into Texas. And so I think we're just going to kind of be here in this holding pattern for the time being. It's still a good time to buy. It's still a good time to sell. Just be prepared for longer time frames.
Right.
Yeah.
Longer cycle.
So
Patience.
things that might have sold in a month might take 6 or 8 months now to sell. And that's just kind of a vague estimate, but it all depends on the specific property. We want to just say thank you to Robbi Flack Langley, J.C. Hearn, and Mikayla Burris for joining us today. Hope you'll stay tuned in the future and send us your questions. In future episodes, we're going to talk about land transition and added value, alternative uses. What else, JC?
I think those are all great topics, just different things that buyers and sellers can be thinking about as far as when they're positioning their land to sell or to buy for investment or appreciation.
Yeah, thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe, follow, like us, and tune in next time.